New data has revealed more people are serving prison time for crimes of which they are later cleared. One man, let's call him Jack, spent 9 months in jail and then 2 years on bail before a jury declared him not guilty of indecent assault. He said he endured the mental anguish of prison while his family lost its sole earner and home. Jack's children were not allowed to see their father for almost 3 years. He says when it was all over, they sat down, they had a big talk, and it really, really took its toll on them all. He says, I believe if it had gone any further, it would have changed the direction of our lives. So information released revealed of the 13,879 remand prisoners who had their cases closed last year, 2,138 or 15.4% were not convicted of their most serious charge. And that's about double the 2014 figures. Now, Criminal Bar Association Vice President is Sumudu Thode. She says it is more common than most people think. And she joins us now. Sumudu, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Leah.
Thank you for being here today, Sumudu. First, let's start by explaining what it does mean to be remanded.
So what it is if you are arrested by the police or any other organisation that's prosecuting you, then you're not granted bail. So you're not released and you're held in prison until your case is heard. So they're not sentenced prisoners, they're on remand waiting for their day in court.
So, am I right in saying though you'd be facing some pretty serious allegations, wouldn't you, to be remanded?
You would think so, but the the figures show that some of these people are facing traffic offences.
What?
Some of them are facing theft charges, and some of these people are facing what's dubbed as environmental pollution charges. So most would think that these are people alleged to have committed murders or serious violent offences, and majority of them are, looking at the statistics, but there's certainly people that are remanded, awaiting trial, that are facing less serious charges. Put it this way, if they were convicted, it's unlikely they would have received a prison sentence.
Okay. So you said they're kept in prison. Are there other places someone could be remanded to? So another place they can go?
These figures relate to people that are in prison.
Right. I mean, so some kept in, you can't be kept in a jail, like in the cop station for ages and ages, can you?
No.
Yeah.
So these are people that are in prison as opposed to, say, a hospital or a police station overnight.
Okay. So if you've said that some people are only kept in jail because they've got no address for bail, is that quite common?
Absolutely. So the first thing that the court would look at before releasing somebody on bail conditions is whether or not they've got somewhere to live. So somebody who's, say, for example, facing a murder charge, if they've got no address, to put it frankly, they've got no chance of getting bail. So there's these people that are in prison because it's the only option. They don't have a roof over their head elsewhere. So especially these less serious charges like theft and traffic offences, these people may be in prison because they have no other alternative.
And see, one person I saw in this, Sumudu, one person was on remand for almost 6 years before being released in 2023. How does that happen?
That's probably, I don't know the specifics of this person, so I can't speak about them, their circumstances, but that's probably the effects of delays with COVID. For almost 2 or 3 years, there were no trials, and so it's just, things just keep getting put off and put off and put off. I certainly have had clients who, say, did go to trial and then there was a hung jury, or there was some sort of reason why the trial had to be adjourned, and then it's another year or 18 months or sometimes 2 years until you get another trial.
Wow.
So if you've had one or two of those kind of reasons for why your day in court was delayed, then that could be 6 years quite easily. But
So
I would think that is out of the ordinary. Most people are not waiting 6 years until they have a trial.
No. Gosh, you'd hope not. Justice Minister Paul Goldsmith said he was very concerned, very much concerned, about the increase and wanted to speed up court processes. Is this, Sumudu, just really at the feet of the courts?
No, it's not, because it's not just court delays. Like I said, there's other reasons why they are in prisons as opposed to elsewhere. So it's lack of rehabilitation centres, it's lack of help from mental health services, it's lack of bail support services. If there are other options to prison, then the courts are faced with choice. For a lot of people facing these charges, the courts have no choice but to remand them in custody because they've got nowhere else to go.
Yeah. So in the latest figures that I was just talking about, just over 2,000 people were not convicted. So say if they were remanded for 12 months, I mean, that's a big bill for the taxpayer, isn't it? What is it per prisoner?
Absolutely. So it costs more than $150,000 per person per year to have somebody in custody, in prison. So if you're talking about, 2,100 people, it's over $3.5 million spent just last year. $3.5 million housing people in prison when they have not been convicted of any offence.
That's phenomenal. And tell me if they are found.
It's not just the money, though, because that story that you talked about about Jack, you can see that the impact it has on their families, their children. Yes. The consequences are not just about money. There's real consequences for real people.
Oh, absolutely. And you talked about rehabilitation before. So the government said earlier this year they announced a package aimed at supporting remanded inmates. And for those yet to be convicted, they include optional reintegration programs, alcohol and drug treatment, educational or behavioural support. I mean, that's got to be a positive, right?
It is a positive, but those are still for people that are in prison. So that funding is for rehabilitation within the prison system, not outside of the prison system. So there could be people who are doing that rehabilitation that ultimately still gets released without convictions for the charges that they're facing. So they would still be included in those statistics that we're talking about.
All right.
The rehabilitation needs to be in the community as opposed to in prison.